Hi, my name is George Rising. I'm a math and science teacher at Seward High School, and I want to talk to you today about independent studies or personal outcome projects. And this is my 489th take at this video, so let's get started again. Students can bridge this classroom real-world divide, and when they do that, they definitely get more into the course. They take ownership of it more. They will do things that you don't think they would normally do because they have a vested interest in the process. And these personal outcome projects, or POPs, or independent studies, whatever you want to call them, can be as short as a chapter or as long as multiple years. And what I want to do in this is just focus on those bigger projects that span quarters or semesters or years. So where do you start? Well, the reality is you can start anywhere. And so I want to just, again, you can start anywhere, but let's just focus on community needs for a moment. So we all have communities. We can think of organizations in our community, local governments, projects that are going on. And this is a great way to say, wait a minute, how could I give a project or connect a student to a project that bridges what's going on in our community and what's going on in the classroom? So this is one way to go from. So we had a project for our flood board, right? We found a way to incorporate that into the classroom. Another way to do this is just through conversations with a student, which can just happen anytime, or more deliberately. Sometimes teachers give students a survey at the beginning of the year. We're doing this with some of our science classes, so you can get a sense that students are really, oh, this is what I'm interested in. And as a teacher, I can help them connect that to a unit that we're studying. And that's another great way to just kind of find those bridges. Of course, just look at your standards. I mean, certainly science, definitely language arts, health. I mean, you can, when I look at those standards, they often say things like, analyze a project, find the pros and cons, communicate with stakeholders. Well, all of those things definitely tie to the real world and those projects. And those are another way to get ideas. The last thing I want to talk about is just this, how to design the course and the objectives. And I set up mine just to say, hey, personal outcome projects are okay. It's a way to do it. Let's move forward and say that students may be doing this rather than an assessment. So what's the process? Well, the process is really kind of a design thinking process, meaning you keep going through iterations. So we have a draft, my vision, the student vision. We come together and we conference and we talk about it. Then I try to put more and more of the work on the student. Let's build a plan. Let's make goals. Let's make objectives. How do you know you've reached them? And then we review it. And often this keeps going back and forth. At some point when I see a plan that's like, all right, you got a plan and you got dates and things to work for, then we're going to say, do you need any money? Do you need to get materials or supplies or equipment? Throughout the unit or the quarter or the week, we're constantly checking in and saying, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? And I've included here this little check-in form. After their initial plan, there's questions that they're prompts that students can be asked to say, hey, answer these questions and then let's have a conference and see where you're at. Eventually, what they're doing is they're learning project management, which is a huge life skill, and they're creating valuable artifacts or resources or processes. And then they will be presenting them to myself, the class, the school, or the community. So what does this look like? Well, for me, I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of it because I see that the kids are doing meaningful work and I'm helping them get skills beyond just the Pythagorean theorem. It's also fun to share with others. When I talk to other teachers about what I'm doing, this is the kind of stuff I'm sharing. I'm not talking about the other little pieces. There's definitely a lot of joy. And there's a lot of frustration because so often the student is just, I want to put it on them and then go take the next step. And they're sort of standing there waiting for me to do the next step for them. It's like, no, take the next step. Take ownership of it. Treat it as your own. And that's a huge curve. So it's going to happen. It's frustrating, but that's part of life. And the last one is just dealing with interruptions. Students will constantly be coming into you saying, can we work now? I'm in the middle of a class, but yeah, go work in the back on your project. Go do your thing. And just finding some peace with that, and I'm still working on finding peace with that and finding time before school, after school, during prep periods to try to get these projects that are really meaningful to get the kids to do the ownership. Hey, the phone's ringing. I guess that's the end of my video. My name's George Rising. Here's my contact information. Thanks for your time.